Hey guys, here we are in Module 7 working on a parenting resource. What we're going to be talking about today is an approach called Love and Logic. We'll be discussing here the main pillars of it, some really practical application, and some of the adjustments you might do based on the developmental age that your kiddos are at. Okay, so you might have heard of Love and Logic before, but if you haven't, you might be asking, what is it? The approach states that love allows children to grow through their mistakes, and logic happens when we allow them to live with the consequences of their choices. And so the idea is that we are supporting their own good thinking as well as the really healthy interaction with non-shame-based consequences. So let's jump into the what Love and Logic says it promises as some of the outcomes. One of the things is that Love and Logic talks about teaching kids how to learn to live with the consequences of their actions so they can be preparing for the world that works that way. The idea is that they would come out of this being parented this way, avoiding blaming others for their decisions, and being set up to make wise decisions for their life because of their ability for critical thinking. So the main principles behind the approach are that you do these four things. You build the self-concept, you share the control or the decision-making, you offer empathy or compassion before the consequence, and you share the thinking as well as the problem solving. And so when you look at these four main principles, you can see how it ends up supporting this outcome of hoping for kiddos who are able to make their own wise decisions. So let's talk about the path to building a healthy self-concept. We want to really decrease the shaming. So shaming, kind of reflecting on consequences and lecturing being tied to being a bad kid or having character issues. So the goal here is to decrease this. So I want you to have in your mind, make this a note somewhere, no lecturing. No talk of character issues, meaning that they're bad or that they're not smart. And also not letting your fear guide your feedback for your child. If you have concerns that they're going to end up a certain way or they're going to be just like your mom, then you could understand how character issues would end up infiltrating some of your feedback and the guidance that you would be giving them. And we want to really decrease that. I want to give you some different options of how to approach discipline without using your own fear to guide that. When I say no lecturing, you may wonder, how will I get ideas across to my children then? And so I'm going to be talking to you about that, but let's just start with the time limit. If you find yourself talking for longer than 30 to 60 seconds, you're probably lecturing. If their eyes are glazing over or they're not making eye contact, you're probably lecturing. We're going to cut that out. We know it's not productive. And so that's one of the highest goals of a new parenting approach, is that you have more productivity in being able to communicate well with your kiddos. Okay, so then the next piece is that we're going to be focusing on collaborating on decisions, sharing the control. One idea is to always be looking for opportunities to offer choices whenever you can, preventatively, before you're in a power struggle. I want you to be giving away the control that you don't need. In situations around clothing or food choices or the way that they're spending their time or the way they're sitting with their body or just all kinds of things, I want you to be looking around for opportunities, for ways to give away the control you don't need. And I want you to make a list of all the ways that you interact with your children where you work to control something that you truly don't need. You know, they need so much from you. in all seasons of their lives. And so allowing them to have the opportunity to have influence can really decrease power struggles. Think about it. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to rely so heavily on someone else? And imagining how offering extra choices to where they can be engaged in decision making could lessen the stress, the tension, and the resentment on this. So as we look at this third pillar, we're going to be considering, how do I make my consequences more productive? You might be surprised, but it's by offering compassion first. So when you are needing to make a correction, I want you to think compassion, then consequences. You need to be front loading the compassion, offering it in heaps and loads, because it keeps everybody's brain on. It keeps your brain on, it keeps your kiddo's brain on, right? Taking out that edge of punishment, frustration, exasperation, remembering, you know what? You guys are not rivals. You're actually on the same team. So I want a reminder here, no lecturing allowed. Remember, if you've been talking for longer than 30 or 60 seconds, you're probably lecturing. You can make decisive and simple actions speak so much louder. When you offer a consequence, I want you to be thoughtful and calm, maybe even having made the choice before the words come out of your mouth, that they are consequences you truly believe you can manage. The goal is not ever that you're saying, you're never going to see your grandmother again, or you're never going to get to have sugar again for the rest of your life, right? You only choose consequences you truly believe you can manage and truly follow through with. And then that's where all of your energy is going to need to go, because your decisive, simple actions and following through on consequences is where all the power is and where all the energy should go. Not in the lecturing, not in the belittling, not in the shouting, not in the angry, punitive words that come out of your mouth, perhaps at them, not in your exasperated sighs. The idea is that your actions are going to speak the loudest. So actually you can really offer a whole bunch of compassion and then follow through with your simple, decisive consequence. This next pillar is the gift of thinking and offering them the opportunity to think through their own problems. You have an opportunity to gift them with a compass, right? This Chinese proverb of give a child a fish and you feed them for a day, teach them to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. The gift that you can offer with setting them up with the ability to think through their own problems might be a bigger gift than saving up for their college education or any other gift that you might be preparing in their life. This gift of critical thinking has so many advantages. A sense of empowerment for the child, this sense that I can handle this. This feeds back into that increased self-concept. They will end up having lessened frustration and feelings of helplessness, as well as less resentment towards you for always being in control. If they have a sense that they are making many of their own decisions, choosing their own consequences in life, following through with their commitments and living that way, having the opportunity to think through their problems because the problems belong to them, the outcomes of power and a sense of control in life really come back into their space, which can be such a valuable outcome that can happen in the relationship between the two of them. So one of the ways that you can apply and start practicing this gift of thinking is by asking questions. When a problem pops up, I want you to think of these questions. I want you to be considering asking the kiddo, what are you going to do? Man, this big problem popped up. What do you think you're going to do about it? First, starting off from the posture of the belief that this problem truly does belong to them. Depending on their development, they may need options. Probably most kids are going to need options. They may not know any solutions. So you can ask them, would you like some options? You can get really creative with all the different ways they could solve the problem. And then ask them this, how would that work for you? They can critically think through the outcomes, and then you loop back again saying, what do you think you want to do then? Again, then ask them if they would like some options. Again, then asking them, how do you think that would work for you? And just hanging in there with them. No sarcasm allowed, no lecturing allowed. You hang in there with compassion and with patience while they work out the problems that truly do belong to them. You can see how this will be the beginning of the roots of differentiation and autonomy and the understanding of personal responsibility and how valuable that can be in your kiddo's life. You may think, oh, I think my kids might be too young for this, but I would say anything over 18 months, you can already start this pattern of being curious about the problems they've created and how you can help them work out the processes of solving their own problems, of course, with your support and your creativity and your help. So now we can look at some of the practical applications of the Love and Logic approach. One of the options that a lot of people love from Love and Logic is the idea of enforceable statements. The idea here is that you don't ever kind of flippantly ask for something. You always tie it to an outcome that the kiddo can choose. And so if you find yourself repeating requests lots of times, this might be a really helpful tool. Get your coat on, get your coat on. I'm leaving right now, get your coat on, right? Okay, so instead of that, you might offer, I'd be happy to get going when your coat is on. Another option is around their belongings. Feel free to keep any toys you put away. You understand how in this, that the onus on managing their belongings is on them, and that you are happy to let them play with the things that they choose to put away in the spots they belong in. Dinner is served until 7 o'clock. That means whatever time that is, then at that point, that's when plates get removed. And then there's no more picking and lecturing and nagging around eat your peas, eat your peas, eat your peas. I can listen as soon as your voice sounds like mine. I love this one for whining because it gives them an opportunity to communicate with you. It's not that you have shut yourself down and you're not being connected. It's just that it's a real hassle when to listen to that whining voice, and so you give them a really good way to be able to communicate with you just as soon as their voice sounds like yours. Oh, and I love this one. It makes bedtime so much better. Treats are given to kiddos who protect their teeth by brushing. The kiddo gets to be in the position of choice about what kinds of privileges they'd like access to, and they understand that taking good care of their body is how they get access to some things that they really enjoy. You don't have to be the holder of pressure. That's the idea with enforceable statements. Here's some other practical applications with Love and Logic approach, is the option to delay consequences. If a big thing has happened so far outside of your normal expectations of what is appropriate, or if something just really caught you off guard with your child's behavior, try delaying consequences. The big thing happens, they smack their little brother, they spit at you, they say something terrible. Just stop. Take a deep breath, don't say anything, calm your body down, and then say, oh man, that was a big thing. Something needs to happen. And then the kid may say, what? What needs to happen? You know what? I really need to think about it. But, try not to worry about it. The idea here is that you get to take as much time as you'd like to go talk to your partner, go talk to a friend, figure out what's a really appropriate consequence. There's no reason that says that you have to immediately apply the consequence. It builds pressure and allows your kiddo to see how far off the mark they got without any shaming or any lecturing. With appropriate consequences, here are some parameters you could be considering. They fit the issue, meaning that if the behavior happened around cartoons, then using a consequence regarding food may not be the best. So they fit the issue. Wherever the area of the missing the mark was, that's the area you also want to be choosing the consequence in. They're non-shaming. They address the present, right? We're not looking back at past issues and applying consequences now. And you feel so sure that you can consistently enforce the consequence. So important. Your inconsistency breaks this whole model down. So make sure you choose your consequences wisely, which can be a really good reason to delay the consequence so that your hind brain isn't leading the show. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about chores. The Harvard Grant Study, it's actually the longest running longitudinal study in history, which is amazing. Researchers have identified 2 things that people need in order to be happy and successful. I'm sure that we're all interested in that as far as how to parent according to these ideas. And the 2 things that people need to be happy and successful were love and work ethic. And so we're working on the love with the compassion and the non-shaming. We can also be working on the work ethic through the use of chores. It can be an incredibly supportive expectation you set around your house. So first, have fun. When you're doing your own chores, pretend like it's fun. Put on a costume, turn on some music, whatever it is. And when you invite the kiddo into the chores, the idea is not that they're going to be thorough or that they're going to be up to your standard. Do not criticize quality. What you want is for them to develop a really positive relationship with chores. When you're doing your own chores, relay your own satisfaction. Oh man, this is hard. This is really hard work. I'm not enjoying this all that much. This is taking a lot of my time and a lot of my energy. And then when you get to the end, wow, I feel so proud of myself. I can't believe I accomplished all of that, and it feels so good to be looking out over my clean kitchen now that I'm done with dishes. So verbalizing your own struggle and process and coming to the position of satisfaction can be a meaningful thing, especially for the little ones to hear. This is one of my most favorite applications of the Love and Logic approach is the closet of lost toys option. In the enforceable statements, you saw one of them, one of the statements was, feel free to keep any toys you put away. What you can do with any of the toys they choose not to put away is to put in the toy Bermuda Triangle or the closet of lost toys. And you put the toys there that they chose not to pick up. And then if they go and they see their favorite baby doll is in that closet, then you can say, that's all right. You are welcome to have that back. You need to earn it, though. You can either give me a quarter or you can do a chore that I really need some help with. And so they learn the value of picking up their own belongings. And if something's really important to them, they're going to take great care of it. And you can be giving age-appropriate chores with the choice of timeline. Would you like to finish mopping in 2 minutes or in 5 minutes? The choices are really valuable because they still get to have some control in that process. There are a lot of age-appropriate chore charts online. I can offer you some resources if you're interested in kind of updating your household, engaging, allowing everyone in the household to be engaging in chores. Then I can offer you some good ideas on where to start depending on how old your children are and what's a good entry-level point for them to feel both competent as well as satisfied in the process of engaging. And so you can be offering these 2 things, love and work ethic, such a valuable base for the family life that you are working on and developing. So if you're interested in this love and logic approach, then we just barely skimmed the surface, and so I would definitely recommend getting the book. Dr. Charles Fay is the author, and there are so many different love and logic books and webinars and all kinds of different resources like this. We just kind of skim the surface today, but hopefully this is the beginning of a helpful parenting resource for you. All right, well, here we are at the end. I will see you in the next video.